Hello there. I'm Tom. Welcome to the Heavily Biased Top 10. If you're here for the first time, welcome. This episode is my first time too, at least the first time for the podcast. In this episode, I wanted to take some time to introduce the podcast and give a little bit of backstory and explanation to what we're getting into. This is a podcast where we will talk about college sports, but mostly about college football. Why is it the Heavily Biased Top 10, you might ask? Well, let me give you a little bit of insight to that one. I'm an Alabama graduate. I spent most of my life living in the state, and back in the dark ages of the BCS, I was surrounded by a plethora of college football fans with whom I could easily discuss the season, the conference, the state of the game, the merits of rankings, and who deserved a shot at the title. Eventually, my career brought me to Denver. While it was a place that I very much enjoyed, Denver is an NFL town. This also is a low point in college football for the area, and so my options for discussing the game that I love with a passion equal to my own were very few. I turned to technology and social media, and I started writing. It was a great way to connect with a game that I love, and to get discussion from people who read and follow, even if I'm not around them physically. I've continued adapting and growing the Heavily Biased Top 10 for nearly 8 years now, and the writings now have their own distinct pattern and timing. Weekly primers are out on Wednesday, and once the committee rankings start, they include both a primer for the games of the week and a reaction to the CFP rankings. Weekly recaps of the games and how they impact the landscape of the season are a Sunday release. During the past 2 seasons, friends of mine have asked when I'm going to run this as a podcast, so you're listening to it. I'm a big fan of strength of schedule. We'll talk numbers on this podcast often. I don't use an eye test to determine my picks, but there's also only 2 types of football, the kind that I like and the kind that I like a little bit less. When there's controversy and it impacts the game, we'll talk about it. Where there's actions and big plays that sway games, you'll hear it here. There's something to learn about the game every time that it's played. I'm here for it, and we'll do our best to cover it. The plan for this podcast is to follow the same format as the writing, and once I get the flow of recording and editing, I'll try to release the cast as a close companion to the write-up. If you love football, even if your team and mine aren't the same, I'm truly glad that you're here. I welcome commentary and opinions. I respond where and how I can, but right now this is a one-man show with a full-time job elsewhere. So if you love college football and you want to hear more, please like, subscribe, share, leave a review, and tell your friends where you found the best information in college ball. Our first full episode will cover the slate of games for championship week, rankings reactions, and the impact of the championships on the first round matchups for the CFP. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.